For more on this, I'm joined by journalist Maxim Tucker, who's covering the trial in Kiev. Maxim, what more can you tell us about the comments by Viktor Yanukovych today?
Well, I think this was a very heavily politicized event today. I mean, Yanukovych was obviously there to distribute the Russian line on events in Euromaidan. This was a ultra-nationalist coup against his legitimate government. He was overthrown illegitimately and forced to leave the country. It was not a genuine protest movement. It was organized by people within his own administration and different oligarchs who he'd fallen out with. And on the Ukrainian side, they were very eager to paint the whole Euromaidan crackdown by Yanukovych's police forces as a Russian orchestrated attempt to take the lives of as many protesters as possible. So there was clearly a very politicized event with not much effort really made to establish individual culpability, as should have been the case.
So how do Ukrainians feel about Yanukovych not facing trial himself?
Well, I think there's a huge amount of frustration that Yanukovych is safe in Russia, giving evidence via video link. I mean, you can see he was very smug, even arrogant in his appearance in court. He knew that he's not going to be prosecuted, that he's not going to be facing any consequences for these actions. But he also knew that he couldn't really be held account for the lies that he was telling. I mean, there were many bold-faced assertions that he made, such as, the first crackdown against protesters was actually a provocation by right-wing nationalists. I mean, I was on the square at the time, and those people were students who were kind of singing and dancing along to rock music before the police came and cracked their skulls.
But in a sign of perhaps how complicated the situation in Ukraine still is, the judiciary perhaps somewhat reluctant to go hard on Yanukovych because it could expose allies and the role of other people who are currently still in government.
Indeed, the prosecutor's office is still the source of a huge amount of corruption in Ukraine. And the prosecutor's office is really the one that's been directing these probes into what happened during Euromaidan. And I think, although it was some progress that Yanukovych was charged today, it was all charges relating to his involvement with Russia. And still, after 3 years, we've seen no progress in bringing high-level officials to account for the corruption under his regime, for corruption under the current regime, the current government. And indeed for ordering the killings of these protesters. So ordinary Ukrainians are very frustrated with the failure of their prosecutors, the failure of the judiciary system to really bring change to their country.
Well, thank you very much, Maxim Tucker, for bringing us the latest on what's happening in Kiev.